Right. So the beginning of my third year, they bring in all the junior level engineering students. And by that time, a lot of students had already given up on engineering just because the material was hard. And I mean, I guess I liked it because I had the chip on my shoulder. As like the harder the engineering program got, because every semester you got more difficult classes, seeing more and more other people drop out, it made some other people nervous, but it like made me hype because I'm like, okay, so that means I can do this better than all of these other students that I thought were really my competition, but they can't even take the work. So by junior year, I think there was only like 8 of us left that were engineering. And not that there was a lot of us, but I think it started off like 20. So most of the students switched to another degree. And then for electrical engineering, there was only 2 of us, me and then my friend Megan Leon. So we were the only 2 electrical engineering majors. They bring all the 8 of us into a room, and they have people from the engineering department at University of Vermont there pretty much giving us all the bad news that they never told us, which was University of Vermont is a public school, and like because it's a different school, we wouldn't be paying St. Mike's tuition, and our financial aid package from St. Mike's doesn't affect University of Vermont. So they were like, after this third year, your last 2 years at University of Vermont, you'll be paying University of Vermont tuition, which was $50,000, which was more than St. Mike's. And I was just like, what? And all of us are just sitting in the room dumbfounded, like, what is going on here? Like, we're thinking we're going to have the same package and everything. Then they're like, yeah, and because we're a public school, our financial aid is run federally or through the state or whoever. So, it's not like they have you can write an appeal letter, but it's not like my appeal letter is getting into the hands of the dean that I can contact who can talk to somebody to get money directly to me. So they couldn't disperse their package, with the same, freeness that, St. Mike's could for me. And I already knew because of the HEOP situation, my mom made too much for me to get much in financial aid, especially because that was a lot based on New York income. Vermont income is even lower than the average income in New York City. So, she was seeing even higher. Then what else they said? So we were trying to figure out, okay, could we get the in-state tuition instead of out-of-state tuition? Since technically we were living at St. Mike's for the last 3 years, and they tell us no. Their rule is you need to have been living in Vermont for at least 1 year, someplace that was not on a college campus or like.
Which would have been helpful information to you 2 years ago, right?
Right. Because if that was the case, I could have moved off campus or something and used.
Right. They want you to live in Vermont, which means you couldn't live on campus.
Right.
So they wanted you to be in off-campus housing to be official.
But you needed it for at least a year. So even if you did it the next day, it's still not enough time.
So they're telling you way too late for you to actually do anything about it.
Exactly.
Which I'm sure for you is like you want to throw something at a wall on the kind side and maybe at the person on the not so kind side.
So nobody left that meeting in a good mood. So we're all just like, what the hell are we gonna do? So it's other people literally talking about, I think I'm gonna switch my major because I don't want to pay $50,000. Me, I'm just like, I done put in way too much work and way too many hard nights. I've been saying I'm gonna be an engineer since 8th grade, so I'm not switching. And so junior year happens. I had a great time junior year. That's when we had the suite, so we had the parties and everything. Like, it was my 3rd year there. I almost made the team, but I didn't. So that my sophomore year, not playing, I didn't go to many basketball games. I went to a few. My junior year, I went to all the basketball games because I knew all the people in the team. So I used to be in the crowd talking trash to the other team at the bench. Like, anybody that went there my junior year would tell you, like, I was the person to see at the games. Like, sometimes
you were like the 6'5" Spike Lee.
Right. And it's like, you have the 2 hoops. We knew at the second half our team always scored on this hoop, meaning the other team had to play defense. So we always sat right behind this hoop. So if the other, we knew the other team shot on this side. So we sat behind that hoop for the second half. So when they shooting free throws, I got my roommate like sticking up his shirt, wagging out his stomach, like. And the basketball games used to be absolutely dead. Like, it'd be 100 people in there, but the arena is supposed to sit 2,500 people. Next thing you know, by the middle of the season, that area right behind that basket was packed. And then on the other side, there was this white kid, Kenny. Him and all his crazy roommates, they were seniors. They used to like all get drunk and go to the other side and like go bananas on the other side while the other team was out there, because I started doing it on this side. So it started bringing more attention to the games. People started going and stuff. So I loved my sophomore and my junior year. And then, we get that information at the beginning of the year, you forget about it. You go through with the year. I struggled a little bit, but, I passed everything. And then, you got to do the common application, because the process to go to the second half of the program, it's just like a regular transfer student. You're just transferring in the University of Vermont. So because I have all of these credits, I already have, a GPA there and everything. I know professors and stuff. I took labs or everything. I took circuits, and a bunch of my intro stuff to electrical engineering was all at University of Vermont. And next thing you know, on July, I think it was around July 4th time. I don't remember if it was a few days before, a few days after. I get a letter in the mail, basically from University of Vermont, saying that they've had more applicants for the engineering program than they initially expected, and more transfer students than they initially expected. So there was more competition for my seat, and because of that, there were more qualified candidates, and I was put on a wait list. And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, I thought this was an easy pipeline. It didn't tell us nothing about how we could be waitlisted or anything. And it's not like my GPA was very high. It was like probably like a 2 point. I know it wasn't a 2.5, so I used to always teeter between 2.7 and 2.2. And at one point, I think when I transferred, it was like a 2.4 or something like that. And, but I never failed the class, and I had the grades there. So I was confident. And they're just like, yeah, you got waitlisted. So I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? So I'm calling and emailing people at University of Vermont, the people in charge of the 3-2 program at St. Mike's, trying to figure it out. And at one point, the last recommendation I got from somebody at University of Vermont was, maybe until I get an answer, I should enroll to go back to St. Mike's for a year and retake the classes retake classes that I got like C's in, and try and get an A. That way I could raise my GPA, because that would be better than taking a new class and getting an A.
And let me just to reiterate what you're saying so that folks can understand this, because when I hear it, and I'm assuming when you heard it as well, if somebody's telling you there's a 3-2 program, you're accepting that this is a program, you go here for 3 years, you're going to go there for 2 years, and they're telling you the rules up front. And it sounds like maybe there was a rule book, but they were sort of changing some of the rules midway. I mean, was this all stuff that they disclosed to you in the beginning? Was this open information? Was it in the fine print? Or was this stuff that just there really wasn't a way to know this stuff ahead of time?
I mean, really, there was no way to know it. I mean, obviously, you assume that you should have the best GPA possible. So that was where I have to take the bulk of the responsibility. Like, if I had a 3.0, I highly doubt I get waitlisted.
Well,
but they didn't tell us that there was a minimum or anything like that.
Right. I think that's sort of the point.
Right.
Yeah. Going back, in your story, like even applying to college, right? So I think early on you're like, hey, this is the system. I understand what my grades are going to look like if I'm a black student versus a white student. You're working within the system that's given, for better, for worse, right? You're working within the system that is there and provided for you. Argue about the system not being right, change the system. I compare it to like Donald Trump, winning the electoral college, right? You can be mad at Donald Trump, or you can be mad at the system, but at the end of the day, he won, and it was within the rules. So what are you going to do, right? And to that, I think it's so important for somebody going into a college program to speak to people that are in these programs, because it's one thing what they put on paper.
Right.
And it's a whole nother thing, the actual experience of it. So if there's a lesson to be learned from the trials and tribulations that you're going through, it's like, listen, talk to people in that program. If there's a 3-2 program, find the people that are in the 2.
Right. Exactly.